you want to overcome fear of stage fright caused by a fear of forgetting lines, here are some tips you can practice. Welcome to Speakers Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas and Lily Patrascu. Discover how to become a charismatic speaker and leader so you can attract ideal clients and business collaborations. First, you can prepare bullet points instead of trying to memorize the speech word for word. Second thing you can do is to just understand that people are there. They don't know what you have prepared. They don't know what you're going to say. And therefore, you are the master of your domain because you have a full control over the content that the audience is about to hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this fear of forgetting lines is a fear that is only created in your mind because, number one, the only person that knows what lines you have to say is you, nobody else. So if you forget the line and then you say something else, nobody in the audience will know because you're the only person. However, let me give you some tricks that I do. Yeah, when I forget the lines, which I actually do a lot. And the people that know me, they know. So but this is a very effective way for you to, number one, you have to pay attention to exactly what Lily just shared with you, right? You never learn a speech by heart. Only what you have is just the bullet points of the main points that you're going to cover. And you need to have the skill to develop those points. Yeah, that's what it comes to practice and preparation. You only remember the point, and when you remember the point, I don't know, let's call it public speaking. You know how to develop this point and what stories you have to say and what you're gonna teach. However, if in that process you forget about the main point, this is something that you can do that I love to do, and is number one, you pause. And when you do this deep process, number one, the audience are getting more and more engaged. Just imagine that I do this pause and now I continue. So even in this broadcast, you can see the power of this pause. So if you're forgetting your line, if you do a long pause and then you walk on the stage from one side to the other, all the way, you will feel that this pause is going to be like a very powerful silence in the room. And the more powerful is the silence, the more vivid is this audience to their craving. So what I'm about to say? The more they crave, the more I'm trying to remember what I have to say. So, but eventually it comes, and then you remember the point, and then you develop. However, and if it doesn't, this is second thing that you can do. You have a story. You always need to have a story ready for number one, when you remember when you don't remember what to say, so you can say story related, and eventually the main point will come. But second, when things doesn't work. I remember Lily once was presenting and she was clicking the PowerPoint and she clicked, and all the slides for the PowerPoint start to pass by like one after the other one. Boom, 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 boom. And it was too many slides in the presentation. Apparently what happened is that the clicker got stuck at the bottom. When you click, got stuck, and then it was clicking, and the PowerPoint was going up so fast. And Lily's looking at me like telling me, what should I do? And I'll tell you, okay, Lily, tell story. So Lily started to do story. So the audience, so that was something my function in the PowerPoint. Yeah, the audience didn't dramatize too much because Lily started to tell the story very quickly, and they get engaged with the story. Yeah. I was freaked out, but because I said, I don't know what I'm going to do to this PowerPoint. I need to reset the computer and put in the PowerPoint that Lily was before. So Lily shared a story and a long one, because this is going to take time to go back to the PowerPoint. So long pauses and having a story ready are one of the few things that you can do to bring back your lines if you forget it.
One important thing is if you have to do a speech of a certain length, for example, for a speech competition, which is, it's not really in a business setting. It's in a setting where, let's say you're doing a TED Talk, you're doing a talk for Toastmasters or for another, for the Rotary Club, and they have, let's say, very specific guidelines in terms of how long that speech needs to be. And let's say if you wanted to mention every single idea that you had thought of, okay, if you want to sort of like memorize it in a way that you say it exactly the way that you planned to say it, then here's what you can do. You can leverage memorization techniques. And I remember years ago, I was studying the books of Tony Buzan, and I luckily had the opportunity to meet him. And he was talking about so many different techniques for memorization, and you can check his books about how to memorize. And for example, one way to memorize is to imagine that, let's say you have a speech, okay, and in this speech you have 10 key ideas. And let's say if those 10 key ideas, they have 3 subpoints for each. And let's say if you wanted to memorize this specifically as it is, and you don't want to forget any single idea, then what you can do is you can imagine the structure of your home. So let's say that as you're entering, you are going to see, maybe like a coat hanger. And then you're going to go by and you're going to see another room or another location, right? So you have the technique of memorizing with places. So you're going to create 10 set places, and you're going to imagine that inside those 10 set places, you are going to find the outline for your speech, okay? So for example, for the outline of your speech, you're going to have a keyword for every single thing you want to memorize. And you're going to imagine that as you're entering, let's say in the coat hanger, there is the first item of your speech. And then as you're opening the first door of your kitchen or wherever it is that you're going next, there are the 3 things that you have part of your speech. So that is a good way for you to remember. And that's actually the exact way that I memorized a lot of the speeches for
also my credit card numbers, my passport number. You're so good at memorizing that you also memorize all my passport numbers, my credit cards, and so on. So yeah. Lily's amazing using these memorizing techniques to memorize everything.
I wasn't using actually those specific techniques to memorize them. I was just memorizing them like by looking at them. Having said that, for speeches, I do think it is valuable to use these kind of memorizing techniques. And they have a lot of different other memorizing techniques. For example, there is a technique where you look at the numbers from 1 to 10, and then you convert every single one of those numbers into an item. So for example, number 1 could be a pencil. Number 2 could be a swan. Number 3 could be a bum. Number 4 could be a chair. Number 5 could be a pregnant woman. Number 6 could be pipe. Number 7 could be a flag. Number 8 could be an hourglass. Number 9 could be a balloon, and number 10 could be a racquetball and the ball, okay? Or whatever it is that you decide that you feel those numbers look like in real life in terms of an item, okay? So once you have set up that particular you can say association between the numbers, then you can make an association between, let's say, number 1 is the number 1 point that you want to remember. And you can imagine a pencil doing something crazy with the first part of your speech. Okay. And it takes a lot of practice. But once you kind of start to make these kind of connections, what you'll find is that you're going to develop your creativity and you're going to start to make associations between things that you wouldn't normally have. Like, for example, make an association between a pencil that is dancing on a PowerPoint, because maybe your first point that you want to make is that you need to have a PowerPoint in order to make a presentation. Okay. So when you start to make these outrageous associations between things, that is when you remember. And because you remember, that is how, for example, all of these memory champions tend to remember an exact speech. And there are other ways to do it as well. For example, there are some ways to read an entire page and then to remember most of it. So if you use these...
Yeah, and unfortunately, there are things, to sum up, there are things that you have to memorize, because if you have to say specific statistic in your speech, this is something that you have to memorize, and sometimes facts in the speech are very important. So to sum up, yeah, you always have to remember the points. You have to learn how to develop those points organically. You need to learn how to tell stories. But however, there are certain things from your speech, especially set a talk or something very specific that you need some statistics and some points that you cannot forget. You do something that will definitely help you is to use some memory techniques in order to achieve this. Yeah, and this is not only for the speech, it's for real life as well. So sometimes the word that I don't pronounce properly, Lily just show me some memory techniques so I can use these techniques and remember how to pronounce the words properly. Yeah, I'm still working on the case, but this is a way of doing it. So see you in our next episode.
Follow us for more charismatic speaker and leader tips.